The task is just the trigger. The real thing you're running from is a feeling you don't want to sit. A lot of procrastination is an emotional problem wearing a productivity costume. Your brain isn't avoiding the task. It's avoiding a feeling it associates with the task. Sometimes it's fear of doing it wrong. Sometimes it's boredom or uncertainty. Sometimes it's the fear that once you start, you'll have to admit exactly what's the one task that's been sitting on your list for weeks, maybe months. The one you still haven't touched. Not because you forgot. You think about it almost every day. You just don't start. Take a second, actually picture it. If avoiding the task makes you feel worse, why would we call that laziness? Maybe the problem isn't that you don't care. Maybe you care so much that your brain is trying to escape what the task makes you feel. And by the time this video is over, you're going to know exactly what that discomfort actually is and how to move through it. Somewhere right now, someone is opening their laptop to finally start that project and closing it again 4 minutes later, having reorganized their desktop instead. You've probably called yourself lazy more times than you can remember. And maybe you've heard the same explanation from other people too. They're wrong, but procrastination feels different. It feels like guilt, dread, a low hum of anxiety that follows you into rooms that have nothing to do with the task. If avoiding the task creates that much guilt, anxiety, and dread, then something more complicated than simple laziness is happening. How much work is actually involved? Let me tell you about a woman named Elena. 28, a freelance designer, talented enough that clients specifically asked for her. And for 3 months, one single project sat untouched in her folder. A rebrand for a small business owner who trusted her completely. Nothing technically difficult about it. Every morning she opened her laptop. Every morning she found something else. Emails, invoices, anything that wasn't the rebrand. One morning she actually opened the file, stared at the blank artboard for maybe 30 seconds. Then a thought landed, quiet and familiar. What if I have nothing good to say? She closed the file, opened Instagram instead, and instantly, unmistakably felt relief. That relief was the clue. She wasn't avoiding the work. She was avoiding the moment she opened that file and found out her ideas weren't good enough. As long as the project stayed untouched, it stayed hypothetically brilliant. The second she started, it became real and judgeable, capable of disappointing both her client and herself. Think about the task you're avoiding right now. Is it actually about time? Or is there a feeling underneath it that you haven't let yourself name yet? Elena's breakthrough didn't come from a productivity hack. She stopped asking, how do I make myself start? And started asking, what am I actually afraid will happen if I start? Here's what's actually happening inside your brain. When a task becomes associated with fear, shame, boredom, or uncertainty, your brain starts looking for relief. You avoid the task, the discomfort drops. You feel relief, and your brain quietly learns that avoidance works. That's the entire trap, and it's the part almost nobody explains. You're being rewarded temporarily for escaping it, which means the more you avoid it, the more attractive avoiding it becomes the next time. You are not broken and you are not lazy. Your brain is doing something very human, trying to get you away from discomfort as quickly as possible. It's just solving the wrong problem. And that means more discipline isn't always the answer. If avoidance gives you immediate relief, your brain has a reason to repeat it. Most people watching this will recognize themselves immediately and still open the same avoided task tomorrow. Close it in 4 minutes and call it laziness again. Understanding the mechanism and actually interrupting it are two different skills. Elena's task was creative, fear of not being good enough. But procrastination doesn't only wear that costume. Meet David, an accountant meticulous with everyone else's finances, and 2 years behind on filing his own taxes. Not because it was complicated, because the first year he missed the deadline, panic set in, and the shame made the second year's task feel even heavier to open. By year 2, it wasn't about taxes anymore. It was about facing how far behind he'd let it get. Here's the realization David had when he finally faced it. I wasn't avoiding my taxes. I was avoiding finding out exactly how bad it had gotten. The number felt scarier than reality could possibly be. He was right. When he finally opened the folder, the actual work took him 90 minutes. After 2 years of dread, the task wasn't nearly as big as the story he'd built around it. The longer he avoided it, the more his imagination filled in the blanks. Think of avoidance like a debt collector you keep dodging calls from. Every day you don't pick up, the number in your head gets bigger and more frightening. Name the feeling. What are you actually avoiding? Judgment, failure, boredom, or finding? Not necessarily because the problem changed, but because your imagination keeps filling in the blanks. The only way to bring it back down to reality is to finally pick up the phone. Imagine what happens 2 weeks from now. Not Elena, not David, that version of you. Sitting down in front of the exact task you've been avoiding for months. Not because you suddenly feel motivated, not because the fear disappeared, but because you finally stopped waiting to feel ready and started before the feeling caught up. And 20 minutes in, something happens that still surprises people. It's smaller than you thought, because here's the part most people get wrong even after they understand all of this. They think the goal is to eliminate the fear before starting. Wait until you feel confident, then begin. That's backwards, and it's why waiting never works. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from it. You don't think your way into readiness. You act your way into it in small enough doses so the fear doesn't get to make the decision for you. So here's the loop that actually breaks procrastination. Not through more willpower, but by shrinking the task small enough that your brain stops treating it as a threat. Why it exhausts you more to avoid the task than it would to actually do it. Because avoidance isn't rest, it's a low-grade permanent state of alert. Out something you don't want to know. Shrink the task, and here's the part I want to make crystal clear because it's easy to misread. The goal isn't to finish in 2 minutes. The goal is to stop negotiating with the beginning. And that brings us back to the question from the beginning. Open the file, write one sentence, read one paragraph, make one call. 2 minutes is enough to interrupt the avoidance loop and prove that starting is survivable. If you naturally keep going, great. But the only commitment is to begin. Start before you're ready. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. It isn't going to send you a permission slip. Notice the evidence. I started and nothing terrible happened. That's the evidence your brain needed, not more motivation. David didn't file 2 years of taxes in one sitting because he suddenly became disciplined. He opened the folder for 2 minutes, then 20 more, then it was just done. That relationship between you and the feeling only changes through evidence, not through insight. You can understand everything in this video perfectly and still avoid the task tomorrow. Understanding was never going to be enough on its own. Think about how much of your mental energy that avoided task has quietly been taking up. Not the doing of it, the not doing of it. The background hum of guilt every time you open your laptop and see the file sitting there waiting. Your mind quietly guarding a door it never lets you close. Doing the task, even badly, even for 2 minutes, is what finally gives your mind a reason to stand down. Tomorrow the task will still be there. The difference is, now you'll know exactly what you're actually fighting. Not the task, the feeling. Name it, shrink it, start anyway. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel confident. You don't even need to feel motivated. You just need to prove for 2 minutes that discomfort doesn't get to decide what you do next. If you've spent years calling yourself lazy for something that was never laziness at all, it's worth sitting with how much of your life that mislabel has quietly cost you. Subscribe to Skilloma. We'll keep turning the things you avoid into things you finally do. And if you've ever wondered why some people seem to move through hard tasks without the same dread, the next video breaks down what's actually different about the way they think.